Hello lovelies, welcome back. Today we're going to do a little double knitting tutorial to make a miniature Ukraine flag pin. I got my pin on the back. You are going to need yellow and blue yarn and some size 6 knitting needles. I am using double point needles because they're short, easy to manipulate, but you can use any knitting needles you choose. You're just going to need a couple of them. Okay, so to get started, we're going to make a simple slip knot, and we're going to start with an Italian 2-color cast on. So making my slip knot, put my slip knot onto my needle, and we're going to choke up. The slip knot is not going to be part of our cast on edge. We're going to slip this off later. When you separate the 2 strands, you want the blue to be over your finger and the yellow to be over your thumb. And we're gonna go under the yellow, over the blue, and pull up. And then we go under the blue, over the yellow, and then pull up. See, the bottom has a little twisty edge. Have no fear, that little twisty edge is going to go away. So now we go under the yellow, over the blue, and come up. We're going to do this for 20 stitches total, or until we have 10 stitch pairs, not including our slip knot. So under the blue, over the yellow, come up. Under the yellow, over the blue, come up. Under the blue, over the yellow, come up. So now, not including my slip knot, I have 1, 2, 3, I have 4 pairs, and I will see you back here when I have 10 pairs or 20 total stitches, not including the slip knot. Okay, so now I've got my 10 pairs, my 20 stitches along my needle. The top looks like this, the bottom is sort of a mess like that. We're gonna not worry about the bottom, and you see I've got my yarns twisted. This is so the stitches don't just fall off the end. And keeping a hold of your twisted stitches, I'm going to turn it around, and grabbing my other needle, I'm now going to knit into this first yellow stitch, keeping both strands behind the work. When you do double knitting, you keep both strands behind when you knit, both strands in the front when you purl. So knitting stitch number 1, and now bringing both strands to the front. I knit English, so when I bring both stitches to the front on the second stitch, I want to make sure the blue and yellow stitch are twisted around each other, because when you do double knitting, you end up with 2 right sides. If you don't twist the second stitch, you're going to end up with an open-sided envelope. So keeping my yellow out of the way, I'm going to purl the blue, and then moving both strands to the back. Now I'm going to knit with the yellow, and then moving both strands to the front, purl with the blue. See, my yellow stays out of the way. Both strands to the back, gonna knit with the yellow, and then both strands to the front, purl with the blue, and so on and so forth across the row. Now I knit English, meaning I control the yarns with my right hand. If you are a continental knitter, you control the yarn with your left hand, and it would look something like this. So see, I've got my yellow in the front, blue is behind, going to knit the yellow, and then both strands in the front, and then you want to keep the yellow sort of away, and then knit, whoops, keep the yellow out of the way. You can tell I don't do this all the time. And then you're going to purl with the blue, and then moving both strands to the back. Going to knit with the yellow, whoops, scoop up my yellow, knit with my yellow, both strands to the front, And we're gonna move the yellow down below out of the way. And then I'm going to purl with the blue. All right, and then we'll see you back when we are 2 stitches from the end. So not the slip knot. We'll see you back when we get here to this last knit purl pair. Okay, so now you see here, I've got on this side of the work, all the knits are yellow and the purls are blue. So I finished my last purl stitch. I have 2 stitches before the end plus my slip knot. Yarn is in the front. I'm gonna move my yarn to the back. I'm going to slip the yellow, move the yarn to the front, slip the blue, and then I'm gonna let my slip knot come off the needle like that. Now, turning my work. Now I'm ready to knit the blue. I wanna keep these 2 strands on this first row twisted, the 2 tails here, so my blue just doesn't fling off the end of my needle. And I'm gonna go into the blue, and I'm going to knit with the blue, and then bring both yarns to the front, and I'm going to twist the yarn. See how I've got my yarn twisted? The yellow's under the blue. Now when I'm ready to purl with the yellow, it's gonna trap that blue strand, therefore closing the edge of my little flag piece. Then I'm gonna go in, purl with my yellow, bring both yarns to the back, between the 2 needles, and now I'm ready to knit purl my way across. On this side, we are knitting with the blue, purling with the yellow. So there's my knit with the blue, yarn to the front, and whoop, purl with the yellow. To the back, knit with the blue, yarn to the front, purl with the yellow. So and if we take a look, see, look, all our blue is on this side, yellow knits are on the back. Okay, or rather, would be the back and the other side is the front, depending on which side you want to have be the top or the bottom. Nice to have a little bit of options, then whichever side looks better, that's going to be the side that is your front. Okay, so then we're going to continue on in this fashion to the end of our little row. So we've knit with blue, yarn in the front, purl with yellow. And we are going to repeat these same 2 rows until you have completed 6 rows total. Not 6 on one side, 6 on the other, but 6 rows total. So maybe you want to keep track by making hash marks. You could always just count the stitches, or maybe you have a row counter, whichever means of keeping track works for you. And then after our 6 rows, we're going to switch colors. So almost to our last 2 stitches. And I'm going to show you the twisty bit one last time before it's time to switch colors. So here's my purl with the yellow. Okay, so my last 2 stitches, yarns are in the back because this would be a knit, but we are just going to slip. Yarn to the front, we slip again, and then we turn. Pretty slick. And then look at the bottom. Isn't that cool? It's like invisible. That's our beautiful invisible cast on. Okay, so now back again, we are knitting with the yellow. And don't forget, bring our yarn to the front. We're gonna twist. So our blue is under the yellow, and now you're going to purl. Make our first purl stitch with the blue. Bring both yarns to the back, and then we will knit purl across, slip these last 2 stitches, flip, do the whole thing again until we have 6 rows total. And you can count 1, 2, and see the little V's, 1, 2. When you have 6 little V's, it's time to change colors. And we'll see you then. Okay, and we're back, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 V's on my blue side, and I have, not counting the cast on, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 V's on the other side. So I am ready to change colors, and I imagine you are too. So to change colors, I'm gonna start on my blue side. I'm gonna just start knitting with the yellow and purl with the blue. So I'm gonna insert my needle, and here we go, knit with the yellow. And bringing the yarns to the front, making sure I twist my end yarns again. So the blue's underneath of the yellow. And now I'm gonna purl with the blue. Always weird and fiddly when you gotta do the twisty part. Okay, so purl with my blue. Bring both yarns to the back and knit with the yellow and purl with blue. Come on, there we are. And we're gonna continue knit with the yellow, purl with the blue all the way across. Purling with the blue. Double knitting is pretty cool. It does make 2 right sides. So there are other cast-ons where you can have an open-ended bottom. So you could even potentially do cables. You could do, oh, whoops, I just did 2 yellows at once because I'm talking and not paying attention. So we'll tink that one. You could do cables, you could do lace, whatever you want. It's pretty cool. Yarns to the front, purl with the blue. And it would be a cool way to do, you know, 2 pieces of a sweater at the same time, if you felt so inclined. So knit with the yellow, purl with the blue. Sorry if this is feeling a little slow. Probably we could speed this up for you. Okay, now I'm at my last 2 stitches. And again, bring my yarns to the back, slip, yarns to the front, slip. All right, and then you think, oh, it's gonna make a weird jog. It won't, it'll be fine, I promise. And look how nice and tidy our edge is. And it's not open, so I can't, you know, hide things inside. Okay, so now we're gonna start the second row here, and I'm gonna knit with the blue, yarns to the front, and I'm gonna twist. My yellow is gonna be on the bottom of the blue, and I'm gonna purl with my yellow, and both yarns to the back, and here we are again. And we're gonna follow our pattern again, and we're gonna keep going until this time we are going to have 5 V's showing of the blue, 5 V's, and by V's I mean these V's, these knit V's. We'll have 5 of these showing on each side. Or I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, now I've got 7, so we'll have 6 on each side. Okay, and I'll see you back when we are ready to do our bind off. Okay, so now I've got my little blue section down here, my yellow section up here, and on the other side you see it's reversed. So this could be your front, or this could be your front. However, we are ready to bind off. You will need a second needle or 2 other needle tips to do this. We're gonna put all of our yellow stitches on one and all our blue stitches on the other, and our little flag is gonna open up and make a pocket on the front, and then we're gonna close this up using Kitchener stitch. So we're gonna slip our stitches one at a time, yellow, blue. I do this with double point needles because it's a little more immediate. Probably you could do it with a circular needle or straight needles, but the DPNs are nice because they are double pointed, so then you've got all your stitches ready to roll for your Kitchener closing. So you see I'm just sliding them tip to tip, nothing fancy, and it's really cool because this is the ultimate illustration of how you actually really do have 2 right sides to your work. Double knitting is really fun. It's kind of magical in its own little way. So now my piece is open at the top. See, look, here's the little pocket. Can you see down in there? See down in there? Pretty cool. Look. So imagine it's like the toe of a sock. You're going to choose one of the yarns you're going to use to make an extra row, and the other one will be your kitchener. So I'm going to kitchen with my yellow. So I'm going to kitchen with my blue, and then I'm going to make my extra row with my yellow, since my yellow yarn is right here. And ultimately, it doesn't matter which one you end up doing your kitchener with, what side you end up on. It will turn out beautifully. So I'm just knitting my extra row, and the kitchener closing will make an invisible seam at the top in a similar manner that our cast on made an invisible seam at the bottom. So I'm just knitting across very slowly because I don't want all the stitches to slide off, because these are metal DPNs, not bamboo, so they're a little slippy. Here we go, almost there. This is 8, 9, and 10. Okay, there we go. All my blue stitches are still on, and I'm gonna grab a little pair of scissors, handy little pair of scissors. Sorry about that. And I'm gonna cut my tail. And also, another beauty of double knitting is your tail, all your ends can just be shoved right down into this pocket. So the sewing in of ends is less fiddly, and I feel like that is always a bonus. Okay, and then I can put my yellow yarn away. And now, out of this crazy looking thing, I'm gonna grab a tapestry needle, and I'm gonna cut a piece of yarn that is 1, 2, 3 times the length of the top of my seam, plus a little extra, because it never hurts to have a little extra. I know blue on blue is not great, but here we go. So here we are. And I'm gonna thread my needle, and we are gonna kitchener. So to start our kitchener, I'm gonna take my tapestry needle and treat it sort of like a knitting needle. I'm gonna go into this first stitch to purl, pull my yarn snug, go in my back stitch as if to knit. Can you see? Pull it snug. Now I'm going to knit off the first one, get in there. So I'm gonna knit off the first one, and then go into the second stitch as if to purl, pull this snug. And then in the back, I'm gonna purl off the first stitch, knit into the second one, pull it snug. Let's leave the second stitch on our needle. So you see at home, if your second stitch slips off like mine did, you can just slip it right back on. Okay, so, and I often sing to myself, knit off, purl, and then purl off, knit. Get that over the top, nice and neat and snug. We've got knit off, purl, and then you've got purl off, knit in the back. And then you want to tidy that up, but not too tight, just snug. Okay, and then we're going to continue on to the end, and I'll meet you right back at the end. Okay, so now I'm down my last 2 stitches, and I'm going to knit off the one in the front, purl off the stitch in the back, and pull this through, and huzzah! So this last one is a little loose on the yellow, but you can always reach in and tidy this up. So now all you have to do is sew in your ends and sew on the back of your little pin back. and then you're done. Ta-da! Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, you can shoot us an email at lovelyarns@gmail.com. I hope you enjoyed our little video. And again, every time you hit that like button, comment on a post, it totally helps out our YouTube algorithm. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and happy stitching!